Hey, welcome back to the vlogs, guys. If you're new here, I'm Daniel. I'm a scientist turned cycling coach, and I moved to China about a year and a half ago, and I race competitively in China now. So we've got a really long video for you guys today. I'm going to take you through an entire week of my training and nutrition and life and coaching and all the things that are involved in being a cyclist and preparing to race and coaching everyone. So today is Saturday, March 14th, and I have a race in just over 2 weeks, about 15 days, which is crazy to think about. It's going to be the first race of the season, and I don't feel 100% prepared. I'm still going through a bike change at the moment. If you missed last week's video, check that out because I talked about kind of the bike. We'll be doing a lot of gear stuff in this video because the bike is not put together yet and I have components still coming. So we're going to be doing a lot of maintenance and bike work and hopefully getting outside for the first ride of the season. It's crazy to think about. I haven't really been outside riding at all. But yeah, the training's been a little bit off. Let's take a look at it here. So this was right before Chinese New Year's, and I was hitting these 20 to 26 hour weeks every other week. So the off week would be like 13 to 15 hours and then 20 hours. Then Chinese New Year's came and we went to Xi'an from Beijing. So travel, no cycling, came back and only got about 4 hours of riding in that week. But the problem started with all sorts of disruptions kind of after this next week. So I hit a good 20-hour week at the end of February there. And the very start of March was a big disruption. So if you haven't seen the video where I ended up in a Chinese movie, check that out on the channel. It's a pretty interesting story, but it did cause a lot of disruption. And I had a lot of athletes reach out to me before February asking for one-on-one training and training plans, and I had to push everyone back and tell everyone like, hey, I just don't have the bandwidth right now. I was so busy with coaching and content creation that I said, reach out to me in March. Well, it came back to bite me in the butt during March because all of them did reach back to me. So I had to onboard a lot of athletes, and yeah, that just really pushed back my training. Only hit 8 hours. And then that's kind of spewed over into this week. And, honestly, I've been a little bit depressed this week. I think it's just after being so busy from Chinese New Year's and then like catching up with the workflow and making so many videos, which I'm also making some training videos for another company as well that I've started doing. So it's just been a lot. And bike changes and gear swap. This week's training has been really disrupted. So I missed Thursday and Friday's sessions and had to push it back. So I'm only going to hit like 15 hours this week. Don't pay attention to next week's plan. That's not an actual plan. It's just pushing workouts around. But yeah, it's already 1 p.m. on Saturday and I have almost a 5-hour ride. So we need to hop on the bike really, really soon here. But one thing I need to do beforehand is part of the new bike build. I won't be using this Quark power meter from my SRAM setup. So I decided to go with the SRAM setup and not the Shimano setup that came with the bike, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video. But I need shorter cranks and I'm going with a non-SRAM crank interface. So I needed a different power meter. So I went with these Majin. These are I believe the 705 power meters. So they're the domestic China version of the 715 that is now available internationally. These are the older versions. So I bought them used. They only come in look cleats, and I've been using either Shimano SPD or the Shimano Road SPD SL. So I had to change my cleats over on my road shoes, got that all taken care of. Last thing to do now is I want to test these guys out today on the trainer, compare the power profile to see how accurate they are, because I have absolutely no idea. They're supposed to be plus or minus 1% accuracy, so we're going to test that out and see what happens. Tight, tight, tight. Blue lights are a good sign. Okay, so we've got 3 hours at zone 2, followed by 10 by 6 minutes, just under FTP. Might have to cut the zone 2 a little bit short so I can have time to make dinner tonight. We'll see. But might run into some issues with the cleat placement because these are new cleats. I tried to put it in the same position as my Shimano. Shimano has more float, like 6 degrees of float. And the Look cleats, the Kios, have 4.5 degrees of float, so I might have to stop and adjust the cleats. I'm hoping I got it right, though. Got a new bib from LAMEDA today. So this one is their Pro Bib series, and it's like aero optimized, but what I'm interested in today, being indoors, is the compression. So it should help with muscle fatigue. So I'm gonna put these guys to the test today and see if that helps with my fatigue. I've not trained for 3 days, so the legs are probably going to feel pretty heavy. Hopefully this helps me complete this workout without too much pain and suffering. So I'm going to record the Magene power meters on the Garmin head unit, record that right here, and then record Ruvi over on the computer, and then I'll compare them afterwards, and hopefully we're seeing some good tracking with them, at least for indoors on this ride. I'm not doing any sprints today, but yeah, really want these guys to work out well so that I can use them as my main power meter source on the bike. I don't really notice too much of a difference in the float there compared to Shimano. I thought Shimano had maybe too much. We'll see. We'll see how I feel after a long ride today. So one interesting thing I'm noticing with the Pro Bibs right away is that there's a lot more padding for like an aggressive aero position when you're putting more pressure forward. Not as much if you're upright around the sit bone. So if you're an upright rider, I would check out the Gallop bibs. But if you're looking for something a little bit more aggressive for racing or riding in a fast group ride, this may really give you a lot more padding where you're actually putting pressure down. I'll have to see how that behaves after a long ride. As you guys may know from a previous video, I mentioned this saddle on here isn't the right saddle for me. I purchased a new saddle for the new bike, which is wider and shorter, and that should work better for me, but I can't put that saddle onto the Zwift ride at the moment. I don't think I have the right clamping system for the Zwift ride. I'll have to see if I have a way of changing that clamping system out. Okay, so we're 3 hours in, just about done with all the zone 2 riding. I'm gonna start the 10 by 6 minute FTP intervals with 1 minute rest in between. I knew my legs were gonna feel pretty bad today, but I honestly think that the compression in these bib shorts is helping a lot. So I thought I'd feel a lot worse. And they've got this nice like aero rib texture there. So I might use these for my first race in 2 weeks. I gotta check the temperature of what we're gonna be at. And I had a comment in my last YouTube video. Someone thought I wasn't eating enough. And I think they misunderstood that these gel flasks, there's 180 grams of carbs in each of these guys. So we're at 3 hours and 8 minutes. I've had 2 small apples and most of one of these gels. This one crashed out a little bit in sugar. So that's like, let's just say 50 grams of carbs per hour. I think it's a little more than that. And I've got another 180 here, and I won't finish this. I've got an hour and 40 minutes left. I'll just sip on this a little bit, probably before the intervals and maybe a little halfway through. So yeah, plenty of carbs for what we're doing. You know, we're just basically in a average of 160 watts, low zone 2. And the Magene has been tracking pretty well. So you're gonna see a slight delay between Ruvi and the head unit here. And that's because the head unit's on a 3-second average, and I don't know what algorithm Ruvi is using to display or smooth the wattage out. But we'll check the actual fit profiles when we're done and see if they track well. But from what I've seen, doing a couple little spin-ups, they're tracking really nicely. Done and dusted. Okay, so thoughts on the cleats. I didn't notice anything different than using the Shimano ones. Actually, I feel like they're a little bit easier to clip in, which was nice. I'm going to do some slight adjustments, which it's handy to have one of these adjustments tools. I have one for the look style and for the Shimano. Just got these guys off of, I think, Taobao. And make a few adjustments on that. And we'll take a look at the Magene power meter pedals and the data, how it lines up a little bit later. But first I need to eat. So I didn't eat lunch before this ride because I didn't want to push back the ride any longer. And I knew that I had carb loaded last night in preparation for this ride. So I knew I had enough like muscle glycogen to make it through the ride with the feeling, but I wasn't able to get myself to consume more gel during the ride, so we're in a bit of a calorie hole right now. I do everything in kilojoules because, well, China. So I am needing to consume about 8,000 kilojoules, so about 2,000 calories, I think that is. And that'll leave me with a bit of a 2,000 kilojoule deficit, or like 500 calorie deficit, because I'm getting to a point where I need to start cutting some weight. So yeah, I'm gonna go eat. All right, so we're gonna start off with a bunch of rice. And yes, I weigh out absolutely everything that I eat. It's a real pain in the butt, but it helps me make sure that I don't undereat or overeat. I can track exactly where I wanna be. So I think we're gonna do about 350, maybe 300 grams of rice, kind of whatever I decide. 350 looks good to me. And then we'll add 2 cans of herring to it in tomato sauce. So get some protein, get a little bit of fat in there, get some more carbs.
We're cooking tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna steam some corn, and then I'm gonna do veggie.
8.
Oh gosh. Morning, guys. It's 6:30 in the morning. We're rolling over a 2,100 kilojoule deficit from yesterday. Not going to eat anything before hopping on the bike here right away in the morning. Not doing a fasted ride. We're going to break the fast during the ride. Just not going to eat anything before we get on. So weigh-in this morning was 68.45 kilogram, which is about 4 to 5 kilograms heavier than my lightest last year. Not too worried about the weight at this moment. I've been doing a lot of strength training in the off season here, and I've leaned out, but yeah, just holding on to some extra weight. that I'd like to start taking off before some of my more important races at the end of May. So yeah, starting to put into more of a calorie deficit every day. And I'm trying out this idea of not eating breakfast in the morning to help me more so just get on to riding right away. Because otherwise what happens is I'll start working on training plans for athletes, and then I'll get pulled into something by a brand or something like that later on, around like 9 o'clock. And then next thing I know, it's 2 p.m. and I haven't done my 4 or 5 hour ride. And it's just a bad cycle that I've been stuck in ever since like Chinese New Year. So trying to break that cycle and just get on to riding right away in the morning, get my ride cracked out, and then I can move on to all the other things that I need to do today, which I need to write 2 training plans today. I've got a new athlete that I'm onboarding for one-on-one coaching. So I'll end up making a video for him so that he can understand the training philosophy of the direction we're going to be taking. So that'll be my afternoon. But first, I've got about a 4 to 5 hour ride. Originally, I was going to do VO2 sessions today. But I think based on how my legs currently feel, we're going to do some zone 2 and then some lactate threshold 1 intervals. And then I'll throw in the VO2s at the very end and see how I feel about that. I'm not trying to push too hard quite yet. I'm still technically in a base season for me, but we've got a race coming up in 2 weeks exactly, so we got to be ready to be able to hit some of those higher power numbers. All right, so we're 30 minutes into the ride here, and I'm gonna break my fast. I'm gonna have some dried dates, dehydrated dates, and a couple apples, be about 120 grams of carbs. And then somewhere during the LT1 intervals, we'll grab some white rice, add a little bit of sugar to it, and that'll put us at about half of the expected energy that we're gonna burn in today's ride, and then we'll catch up with our calories during recovery. Okay, starting the lactate threshold 1 intervals. Ideally, I'd have a lactate monitor to judge how much power I should be putting out. I don't have one, and I know if I had one, I'd probably get pretty sick of pricking my fingers all the time for all the training I do. And I know I'd use it a lot, but there's some new tech coming out by, I think, Timeware that goes off of your breathing, your ventatory thresholds 1 and 2. And if you're interested in finding out more about how that tracks to LT1 and LT2, check out Professor Seiler's research. He was involved in the development of the device. It's basically a heart rate monitor with a strap that has sensors to track the expansion and contraction of your breathing of your chest. Really cool stuff. For me today, though, I'm just going off of RPE and feeling out kind of where I think LT1 is. I'll be relatively in the ballpark, and that'll be good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna ditch the zone 5 intervals today. I'm getting a little antsy for how much I have left to do today with writing these training plans. And I have a ton of packages that arrived for the bike, for the build. I kind of want to go through those and make sure everything arrived all right. So we're going to stop it here and switch these zone 5 intervals over to tomorrow's ride. and go get a recovery meal. We have a lot of packages. Ooh. So first up, we've got a Van Rysel FCR new helmet, which is great because my Bontrader helmet is like, I don't know, like 6 years old. It's pretty old. It needs replacing, plus I got a little dent on it last time I traveled, so not really the safest thing to be using anymore. And then the biggest one I've been waiting for, Hoodoo cranks. So these are gonna be my 155 millimeter dub 29 spindle cranks. So I'm looking forward to those because that's one of the major components missing on the bike so I can actually ride the bike. Weather is getting really nice out, so hopefully this week we can train outdoors a little bit. It's a new Allen key set, which I need because all my Allen keys are stripping. Bunch of food snacks. These things are great, by the way. .140 millimeter disc rotor, which I need because the wheel top system didn't come with a 160 adapter, so I have to only use 140 on the rear, which is fine. Lighter weight, right? Some new bar tape. I'm trying out this cheap Giant Rush bar tape just to kind of see if it's good enough. It's super lightweight and was cheap. If not, I'm going to order some better stuff just in case. We've got some premium grease for greasing that spindle. A new saddlebag, because my old saddlebag is 1, ginormous, 2, heavy, and 3, doesn't actually fit with the shorter carbon saddle that I now have. New hex key set for the bike when I'm out biking. This guy's a little heavy, but the one I wanted I couldn't find on Taobao. I might have to find it internationally and get it shipped. But my other set was stripping again. All my hex keys and Allen keys are like super old. And just a new Garmin mount so I can mount my light to the seat post. So I tried on a PMT helmet, which I think is a Chinese brand helmet, and it was too wide. I think it's designed for Asian heads that are wider. I could fit a whole thumb in between. It was just moving around too much on me. The Van Rysel makes both an Asian fit and a European fit. This one is European. So hopefully this fits my head a little bit better. I have a small head. I have like a 55 circumference head, and the medium is a 55 on the low end. So usually helmets fit me a little bit big. Well, I think that's going to be the one. These FCR Van Rysel helmets have tested really well in wind tunnels, and for the price, I mean, you just can't beat it. It's got a little bit more vents than I would like from more of an aero-oriented helmet on the front, but at the same time, like, I overheat quite a lot, so ventilation is good, and apparently. I've seen some fluid dynamics modeling that has actually shown that the way the vents are designed here with where the exit ports are, it actually speeds up the air as it goes through, which increases ventilation. So, you don't need as many vents and you get more ventilation. So, smart design. Oh, guys, that is super neat and tidy. Look at that. I'm really liking that saddlebag. Let's take a look at what I was able to fit in there. All right, so what's in my saddlebag? First up, weight. We've got 450, 449 grams. This is from Light Ride. Uses a nice little boa mechanism for attaching to the saddle. So not the lightest, but very functional what we've got in here kit-wise. So first up, I've got one tire lever. I could probably fit two if I wanted to. I've got this Apple AirTag, so that lets me track the bike if it were to get lost or stolen, but also it carries a spare watch battery in there in case your shifters, if they use watch batteries, which mine do, if one of them dies, you have a spare. In this little zippy, I've got a extra quick link for my chain and also a valve core remover for tubeless. I'm not running tubeless currently, but other people are, so it's nice to have one available. I've got this nice multi-tool kit. This is what's adding like 100 grams to the weight. This guy's a little chunky. I've seen better ones out there. This is from West Biking, but I got this super cheap, and it seems to have a lot of good functionality in it. So you've got all of the kind of the tools that you would need on the bike. You even have a T25 torque. You've got, let's see here, 2.5, 3, 4, and then you've got a 5 and a 6, or 5 and a 6, and then an 8, and then you can use all these other bits. So very functional. I got my door pass house key in there. And then this guy's really the star of the show in here. So this is the Cyplus mini pump, and it's got screws in here. This guy's great. It will hold enough charge to charge up, I'd say, probably like 4 to 6 tires all the way from flat up to like 60, 70 PSI. Just screw this onto your Presta valve first and screw this into here. Give this guy a turn on, and you can set your exact PSI that you want to go to, which is pretty awesome. So I carry this guy when I travel now, also because I don't have to bring a big pump with me. This does the job. And then I've got a pretty big butyl tube in here. This is a lightweight butyl tube. I need to make my way over to TPU tubes, but I just haven't done that quite yet. So that would make everything much lighter in here as well in the future. But yeah, super simple, super functional, and it looks great on the bike. So spent pretty much all of Sunday night doing training plans for athletes. Woke up a little bit late today. However, that's not what caused a disaster today. What caused a disaster today is I decided to try to put my bike together because I have all the parts for my bike so I can start training outside. But take a look at this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what remains of the bearing for my drive side of my bottom bracket. I went to put new cranks in, and that's exactly what came out, completely torn into pieces. I have no idea what happened with that, but I don't know this brand of the bottom bracket. It's a Chinese brand. It's really cheap on Taobao. So I ordered a whole new bottom bracket from SRAM. I did not go ceramic bearing because I'm not convinced that it's really worth the cost at this point. I had no problem with my last SRAM bottom bracket. So that's what I'm gonna do. But then I discovered a whole another issue. And this one's also a big one. The integrated cockpit has a crack in the carbon where this bolt is. You also notice this bolt is probably not the original bolt. I imagine at some point that got torqued too tight and cracked it. So I was hoping to be able to figure out if this 130 stem and this aggressive drop works for me, but I can't ride it because I don't have a bottom bracket and cranks assembled. So I don't know if I can order a new handlebar yet because I need to figure that out. Okay. I decided, well, you know, I'll salvage today and I'll work on my wife's bike and at least get that set up for her because she's switching to a larger chainring, shorter and lighter cranks, and a different power meter setup with just a spider. But I took off her Magene power meter, and the spider she bought, which is one of the great things about living in China, is we have access to a lot of different like non-branded stuff. It's cheap, it's good, pretty good quality and lightweight. The downside of living in China is we have access to all of this other stuff, and sometimes there's a compatibility issue, and that's exactly what happened. Is there's a compatibility issue between her Ultegra chainring and that spider. So nothing fit together, and I had to put her old power meter back on. New chainring, so she can at least try that out, but yeah. We have a running joke, my wife and I, of Monday Monster, because there always seems to be a major problem that happens on Monday that just like destroys the entire day. I don't know how this happens or why it happens, but it happens, and all you can do is just take a breath and move on. I haven't ate anything yet today, so I think I'm gonna go eat. The ride is definitely not happening today. I could force it to happen. It's only 6 p.m. But I'm not gonna force it. I will integrate the VO2 max session into tomorrow's ride. So, morning guys. So I had a completely failed session yesterday. I was trying to do the VO2 that I was trying to do Sunday night, and then wanted to do Monday, and then tried doing it Tuesday night, and just couldn't. I got on the bike. That was a big success. I got pulled into stuff on Tuesday morning. Next thing I knew, it was like 4 p.m. And I was like, all right, I have a 4.5 hour training session planned. I was like, well, I'm gonna do it. So I rushed to get on the bike, didn't stretch, and during the 45-minute warm-up that I gave myself, I couldn't keep threshold. Like my legs were like, nope, not doing it. I was so frustrated, a little emotional, to be honest. I almost like wanted to cry because you put in so much effort and time into training, and then to not be able to put out power is just really frustrating. But I was able to kind of reframe it, and it's like, you know, it's just not for today. I got on the bike, that was a success, got a little spin in, and I was like, you know, if I were to force myself to do it, like get off, go stretch, come back on, I could probably get the session done, but it's gonna throw off all of the next day. So I was like, you know, I'll get some good sleep, get up early, and get the session done before the rest of the day on Wednesday. Today is usually our day off. We go to a local farmer's market, get our chores done, try to catch up on stuff that kind of got pushed off because of the week of training or work. So usually I don't train today, but I really need to get the session in, and I got, let's see here, we're 2.5 hours into the session. I've done 12 minutes at VO2, and I've got 2 more intervals at VO2 that I put at the very end after some endurance. So 2 more of those 3-minute VO2 intervals. So I'm gonna crack those guys out, get some breakfast, shower, and go to the market. So probably bring you guys along for the market ride. All right, let's get to work. I forgot that I set the power targets on these last 2 intervals to be higher. That's a fun surprise. I feel like there's not as many vendors here today, at least not at the front here.
Do you want bigger one or a small one this time?
This is pretty good.
Yeah.
I think that was. Morning, guys. It's almost 8 o'clock. I'm being quiet because wife is still sleeping. She's being kind of a sleepyhead today. But I got up at 6 and did some video editing, so feeling productive this morning. Did not eat breakfast yet, and we've got, I think it's like a 3.5 hour session, doing a 3x20 minute lactate-controlled micro intervals, which is a session that I made up. It's all threshold work based on Norwegian method. You can check out the video on either YouTube on the shorts or on Sanghushu. But yeah, so I'm going to make some more coffee so that she has coffee when she wakes up, and make some rice. So we have some carbs later today when we're done riding. But some exciting news is I got the cranks on. The downside is it's actually not fully tightened. So I thought I had the right BB tool for tightening up the SRAM Dub T47, because the tool that I had worked for the Cenex, or not Cenex, this is another one. It's another Tribe bicycle brand. It took it off, and I was like, oh, great, I got the right tool. I don't need to buy another tool. Well, apparently SRAM Dub uses a different tool, but fortunately discovered that last night, and stuff ships so quick here in China, so it's coming today, this afternoon, hopefully, and then we can get that all tightened up. But everything seems to be fitting on there nicely. No play. So yeah, I'm going to cut the chain later and put this on the trainer and see about this drop, and that'll determine what handlebar we're going to end up purchasing. So yeah, get the day started here. I'm definitely going to stretch before I do this session, as we have found this week. If I do not stretch, I do not cycle very well. So I don't know if that's just an age thing, or if it's the amount of volume and training that I'm doing and introducing more intensity now. I mean, yeah, we all should be stretching regardless, but sometimes it's just, to properly stretch takes like 30 minutes, and sometimes you just want to hop on the trainer and knock out the session. And I haven't ate breakfast yet. That's a whole nother topic that we'll get into maybe in next week's video. I've started using a new nutrition tool, we'll say, and I'm really liking it so far. But part of it, and separate from it, I've decided is, in order to get myself onto the bike, if I don't eat breakfast in the morning and I start feeling, once I get on the bike, having my gels, having my carbs, once I get on the bike for the session, the intro session feeling, it helps me get onto the bike and not get so pulled into other things. If I have breakfast and then I do other things and I have my coffee, and it'll be like noon by the time I get on the bike. So this way I've been able to get on yesterday, get my session cranked out, and that's going to happen today as well, and hopefully tomorrow, because tomorrow is a very big session. Not a lot of intensity, just a lot of time on the bike. But yeah, let's get this rice and coffee made. So just noticed that we're pretty low on gel, and I think she has a 5-hour ride planned today. So I think I need to make some gel before before I hop on the bike. Okay, a little after 9:30 now, just jumping on, got all stretched out, and we're aiming for about 85 grams of carbs per hour today. So, ginormous apple that we got from the market. These won't be the best ones. They're probably cold stored, frozen, and thawed. And then we've got dehydrated dates, 100 grams of those, and 180 grams of sugar sitting in this guy. So this is just a little bit over 85 grams per hour, but I reckon I probably won't have the full gel, so we'll be right on track. All right, 2x20 done. I honestly wanted to not do this session. I got through the warm-up and I was starting to negotiate with myself of like, let's just do an easy ride today. It's like my legs aren't feeling it. And it's part of the problem being self-coached is I can talk myself out of stuff of like, oh, coach didn't know what he was talking about. Shouldn't have done that today. But the reality is I did know what I was talking about when I scheduled the workout. And I just need to trust the process, even when I don't want to do it. But after the first 2 minutes into the intervals, I was like, all right, I feel fine. I just needed to get past that little hurdle. So I did 2x20. I have one more set of those left. And part of it is I make a deal with myself at the beginning of like, you can stop after 15. You don't need to do the full 20. But by the time I get to interval 15, I'm in the groove. I might as well just keep going. And most times I forgot that I've made that negotiation with myself. So little tricks just to get yourself mentally over those hurdles when things get hard. That seems to work pretty well for me. So we'll crack out this last set, get some recovery in, and I've got some video editing to do for most of the rest of the afternoon. And then we'll get to hopefully putting this guy all the way together tonight. I told you I wasn't gonna finish that gel, but don't worry, I had a bowl of rice about halfway through the ride, about 200 grams. So I recalculated all of my intra-workout carbs to make sure I was still getting that 85 grams per hour. Okay, last set. It's a good thing that as a celiac, I can have rice, because if I couldn't, I would be in big trouble. This is 630 grams of rice that I've eaten just today so far. Well, I don't know how I feel about this new diet yet. It's definitely a lot more fat in it than I'm used to. I was on a low-fat diet for basically 2 years, and that's how I lost a lot of weight, was high-carb, low-fat. And like low-fat was like 20 to 40 grams per day, which is definitely lower than usually the recommended amount. But it seemed to work pretty well for me, that and cycling. But I feel like I've been stuck since the end of summer, just haven't been able to move the needle. And if anything, I put on weight over the winter. Hopefully most of that's muscle, but some of it's probably some fat from overeating during the holidays. But we'll see. We'll see. This is definitely more fat than I'm used to. It's a little strange. I mean, I'm not necessarily complaining. I think we all like our fats. But I also really like my carbs too. But I guess I'm still on a fairly decently high carb diet. I mean, 630 grams of rice so far today, and I'm gonna have a high carb dinner as well, because tomorrow is a 5-hour and 40-minute zone 2 ride, so I need to carb load for that. Ooh, well, we just had a delivery and I'm excited for this one. Been waiting since the end of January, middle of January for this guy. So this is our replacement unit for our Wahoo roller trainer. And you can probably maybe even hear, so we have 2 of these, and the other one's having the exact same issue. I don't know what's up with these roller units, if we just got unlucky, but either way, Wahoo is absolutely awesome with getting replacements. They really stand behind their products. I just wish these roller units didn't get this like clunking noise. Apparently it's like a common thing, which I wasn't aware of when we first purchased these guys. And this one took a long time to get here because I guess the distributor that Wahoo uses in China didn't have anymore, so they're out of stock, and they had to get one sent to Hong Kong, which is where they're based out of, and then get it sent over to the mainland, and it's just a mess. Fortunately, I still had the Zwift ride. Otherwise, I would have had to purchase another trainer while waiting. But this means that hopefully now we can get sorted with my wife's unit, and we still have then 2 trainers to use. But I'm trying to just see if Wahoo's going to replace this one, or I asked them, is it worth getting a completely different trainer swapped from them, because I don't want to have the problem again and again. You know, I can't be out of a trainer for 2 months every time this happens. So, but at least they stand behind their products. All right, well, just finishing up 5 hours and 40 minutes of low zone 2 riding, and that brings the week total to just under 21 hours. You know, not too bad from Saturday to Friday for ride total. And yeah, I'm wearing the LAMEDA Pro bibs again. Yes, I did laundry, don't worry. But my legs were pretty fatigued this morning, so I reached for these to do their compression magic and help me make it through this long day of riding. And today was more of a challenge of eating enough rather than pedaling enough, and I appreciate the gear that allows you just to not have to worry about the pedaling enough, but you have to be able to take in enough carbs. And the new nutrition tool that I'm using plotted out how much I needed to consume during today's ride. And we'll be talking about that in a future video. So if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. On intervals.icu, my training camp that's free with all these workouts that I give. So you guys can check that out as well. And yeah, thanks for coming along for this week. It's been a little bit chaotic, at least from my point of view, with the whole bike build situation, but we're like that close. You know, there's not too much left to get that guy put together, but it's got to happen soon here, because we're starting to get some really nice days, and the racing season is starting up. So yeah, I will catch you guys on the next ride. Peace.